Really good leaders, sales leaders, they're hyper responsible. So what happens is when somebody's failing, it's my responsibility. I didn't give them enough training. I didn't give them enough coaching. We didn't give them enough resources. Now, I started in business in a startup, and you basically got 1 day of training and then you were enrolled in the go get 'em good luck program. And
Yes.
so when I see this hyper responsibility popping up, that actually is a great thing because they care, but they care a little too much where they're accepting excuses. So I don't know if you've observed that behavior with some of the sales leaders you work with.
Oh, 100%, because many of us feel that we can fix people,
Yes. Yes.
right? If only I just did this, I'm going to give them another 3 months. I'll coach them. I'll help them. At the end of the day, in coaching sales managers where they have performance issues or people who just don't fit their team, I'm very direct, Colleen. And usually I'll ask them, the Stephen Covey approach to the world is begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Is this the person that should be on your team? Right. And as we kick off a year, 100% we should coach people and help them grow and be better. But in most cases, it weighs heavy on us, but we know the answer. And as you said, sometimes we put it on ourselves. Performance is owned by the individual, by the manager. And in terms of teachings and coaching managers, to me, it's about shifting the accountability to the individual, right? And putting it on their shoulders to perform. You can support, you can coach, you can bring resources to the table, but ultimately it's up to the individual. And most salespeople, if you ask them, do you like being an individual contributor? The answer is yes. But are you accountable to delivering on performance? And in many cases, the manager takes it upon their shoulders and they're accepting of modest performance and think that they can fix the individual. I think that it's great. They're caring, as you said. But in most cases, they're actually perpetuating a situation or holding on to someone where maybe it's time to cut the umbilical cord. And it's
Mhm.
up to the individual to perform, not the manager to make excuses. And it comes down to who owns their performance, who owns their attitude. Training is kind of jointly owned, right? Where the individual is responsible for their own development as well as the manager assumes responsibility. But when it comes to effort and performance, to me, that's clearly owned by the individual. So if it's not happening, you can bring a horse to water, but you ultimately can't make them drink. And that's where the coachability comes in.
You could put in flavoring, but they're just not drinking that water. And so I think that's an interesting self-awareness point for sales leaders is who's driving the performance? Because I have to tell you, if you take your foot off the gas and then the person falls apart, well, number one, either that person isn't capable, doesn't have the buy-in. So I think it's a great point there.